Ginseng is a plant rooted in West Virginia tradition. People have been digging for ginseng and selling it to Asian countries for centuries. Ginseng is known for its health benefits. People claim ginseng can give you a boost of energy, can help you withstand cold temperatures, and prevent cancer. But scientists and health professionals disagree on if any of these claims are true.
My understanding is that ginseng is a little quick pick-me-up. It's a natural pick-me-up. Gives you a boost of energy. Doesn't last that long, but gives you a boost of energy. If you ever look at your energy drinks real close, you'll see that there's ginseng in there. And some of your multivitamins may have some ginseng in it just to give you a metabolism boost.
Ginseng is also commonly put in teas, soups, and medicine. The root is so popular in Asian cultures that many species of Asian ginseng are endangered or extinct, so they rely on imports from Appalachia.
If it looks like a man, it's highly prized. In the Asian culture, if the root or the seed or the plant looks like a part of a human being, they believe it's good for the human being. Whatever that is. If it looks like a kidney, it's good for the kidneys. If it looks like a heart, it's good for the heart. If you can get a ginseng root to look like the man, well, they think it's good for the whole body.
Americans were shipping ginseng over to China since the 18th century. It all began when a Canadian Jesuit named Father Lafitau found a letter from a Jesuit missionary stationed in Beijing, Father Pierre Jarteau. Father Jarteau wrote about how popular the root was and that it flourished in the dark forests of the Northeast. Father Jarteau had never been to Canada, but surmised in the letter that the growing conditions would be just right for ginseng to grow there as well. Father Lafitau decided to search for the plant after reading the letter and found it growing natively in the forest. He published a report of his discovery in 1716, which resulted in market collectors eradicating the species from the forest and prompted attempts to grow the species commercially in Canada and France. And thus, the ginseng trade between North America and China began. Within the 18th and 19th century, digging ginseng in Appalachia and shipping it overseas became quite popular. Even Daniel Boone supplemented his income by digging ginseng, and in 1824, an all-time record of 750,000 pounds of ginseng was shipped from the U.S. to China. So much ginseng was dug and sold that plant populations began to diminish in the late 1800s.
We've been trading with the Asian market ever since they lost all theirs. They used up all theirs. So we're trying to protect this plant to make sure that future generations can get the enjoyment of going out in the woods and, digging some ginseng, whether it be for profit or not.
Shh, shh, shh.
Some people might know about ginseng from watching the History Channel show Appalachian Outlaws. The show depicts ginseng diggers and dealers across the Appalachian region.
As all reality TV is, it was not as real as they made it out to be. So that was when that came out, and I'm watching it and I'm going like, no. And there are some other things that are in there that are just not part of West Virginia culture. So it's just, they made a lot of it up to make it something that people would want to watch. After that came out, we had a whole heck of a lot of people wanting to come to West Virginia to dig ginseng. After that's went off the air, not nearly the amount of phone calls that we get every year wanting to know where they could go dig ginseng, where they could go pick ginseng. That was that, and the other one was Mountain Money. But that was not in West Virginia. That was Kentucky or North Carolina, I do believe. But we all of the coordinators just cringe when we hear about one of those, because it did not represent the ginseng community well. And plus, we felt it would be going to endanger the wild plant even more. People thinking they were going to get rich off of 2 or 3 roots. So it just takes a whole heck of a lot of roots, whole heck of a lot of work. And you're dealing with snakes, bears, other, poison ivy, poison oak. There's a heck of a lot of work in it. You're trying to find places that have it, and then you're walking up a bunch of these hollers, and if you don't own the property, you're trespassing. So there was a lot of misconceptions through there that we had a ginseng mafia, no, and shooting up cars, blowing up cars. It's like, saw that. I saw the first few episodes, and I'm just shaking my head. I'm going like, no, please, no. I just wish nobody would watch it because they think that it's so real.
We had a talent agent come and from Original Productions called. I wouldn't take the call because I thought it was a salesman calling me from L.A. A couple, 3 times the L.A. show up, and we were busy. I'm not here. I'm not here. They saw an advertisement where I set up alone at a roadside stand buying ginseng, and they come and met me there and introduced themselves and gave me their card and said, we're interested in doing a show here in West Virginia, and we think ginseng would be a good subject, and tell us about it. And actually the producer of the show, his dad is from West Virginia. He's from West Virginia. We come and did a shoot or two and asked me for a few names of people that might be interested in doing the show. And told me some people that I know. They had their own. They had been scouting some before. Asked some of the things that happened in my life, some of the more funny things or exciting things that have happened over the 40 years or whatever I've been in the business, and some of the things I've heard about.
Piss on you. Kiss my ass, Corby.
We put together a scene or two, and we shot it, sent it off to History Channel. They liked what they saw, and we shot a show, and it did really well. About the only thing realistic is our names and the prices. People didn't realize that. They thought that $1,000 a pound was fake, but it wasn't that year. They hit it really lucky. That was the one year that the price really got high. But it was artificially high because there was a company in Hong Kong that became publicly traded on the Hong Kong exchange. And those guys were artificially inflating the price to run their company price up, because even though it was being publicly traded, it was mostly owned by one individual. And the price of his company soared as the price of ginseng went up. And he was using bank money and investor money to bolster that ginseng price. And he was the only one in the market. He was buying against himself, bidding against himself to make the price go higher and higher. And he wasn't selling it. No one could afford it. And he didn't have any customers willing to pay that price for it. You know, just sitting on the floor in his vault. But he was using investor money, so it didn't matter. But on his books, it looks like, look, this $900 pound ginseng I got is now worth $1,200 a pound. Look how much money I'm making. I'm making 25–30%. But he's the one buying it. No one else was buying it. And he's not using it. It's still sitting there. And he's chased every other legitimate buyer out of the market. And of course it collapsed, but his stock price jumped up when he made his first quarterly report that the ginseng had jumped 30%. Well, he owned most of the stock, and of course the stock price went up. He sold all of his stock, his 50% holdings or whatever. Well, if you would do that in the United States, they would put you in prison. But that's what would happen, and it killed the ginseng. That's why ginseng took a couple of years. Everybody made money that year, but boy, we suffered for a couple of years after, instead of a nice level market where everybody would do fine and make good money one year, and then we suffered for 2 years, almost 3. And then just when things were starting to get on our feet, and now here we are in this trade war. So it's not one thing, it's another. Constant battle in anything you do. But there was some good times. We got a lot of kicks out of that. And the show was a lot of fun to do. I took a little ribbon off of that from other dealers and stuff. And some people I really thought, didn't understand. They thought I'd give them a bad rap and made diggers look bad or something. It was just a show, you know what I mean? It was supposed to be fun. But what was good was, I guess, I got a lot of presents. I had folks from all over the country coming, and I didn't ask for it, but people would ship me presents for no reason. I had guys coming from Nova Scotia, the lobster fishermen, shipping me a couple dozen lobsters, live lobsters. Paid $350 to send me live lobsters from Nova Scotia. I mean, he come by to say hello, and wanted to give me $100 for a T-shirt or something, and because I wouldn't take it, he sent me $500 worth of lobsters. Well, I had one guy come from Louisiana. He had Lou Gehrig's disease. Yeah, that stuff like that. I was a junk dealer and a ginseng dealer. But you have people think that highly of you when you know, I'm not somebody, but he put on his best clothes and had his nurse drive him here. But then there was a few people that was maybe going through a tough time, needed some money, and they really thought it was a way of getting rich, you know, like it was the gold rush, the '49 gold rush or something. And I felt bad. They came here, they drove in from Illinois or Virginia or somewhere, or they would call me on the phone. I'd have to explain to them. I mean, some people didn't even call. They just showed up. Can you show me where, with maybe their last $50 or $100 to come here, and please show me where I can find some ginseng. You know, that was, you know, I think I even gave a few of a few bucks and said, I'm sorry, you know, you need to go back home. So, I mean, it's got its good side and there's a dark side to it too.
We've seen a lot dealing with the opioids. People are digging it just to get their fix, and I think that, you know, that's rough, because they'll dig it out of season and it ruins the crop for the, you know, people that come after you, that there are no more ginseng in the area.
I would rather have somebody out who's desperate to make a few bucks out in the woods digging some roots or something like that to get their money than breaking in my home or my car or sticking me up in the street. But I understand Robin's point. When I was growing up, we only dug the large roots and we planted the berries back. We didn't have to worry about someone coming behind us and digging the baby stuff, and now you do. And ginseng is getting more, it's just not out there like it was because of the stewardship of the plant. People, they just don't, they're after a penny any way they can, you know. If you have a place, a half a dozen places of ginseng, if you follow good stewardship, that's all you need. You can keep going back in the same places and rotate and only take the big stuff, and you can go back in and you've got a place of ginseng year after year after year. But if you go in and you dig and dig and dig and take it all, in a couple of years you've dug it out and you have no place of ginseng anymore. You can dig 100 little babies and they won't weigh anything. They won't even register on the scale anyhow. You have killed the entire population out for nothing. Actually, it is illegal. You can't even ship them anyhow.
Do you find that a lot of people bring in babies to you? Or?
The younger dealers. The desperate ones. The ones that really don't know how to ginseng. Yeah. Yeah. You know, you can tell them, don't do this, and shame them. You know, and I try. Look, you know, what are you doing? You know, and I don't even buy them. I just scoot them off. And I'll even lay them on the scale. If they register 0.01 it's a whole dollar, and there's 50 of them.
Ginseng season starts every year on September 1st and ends on November 30th. Diggers have until March 31st of the following calendar year to sell to a registered West Virginia ginseng dealer or to get a weight receipt from the West Virginia Division of Forestry. Digging outside of ginseng season or keeping roots without a weight receipt is illegal. It's also illegal to dig on state forest land, private land without prior written consent, or dig ginseng roots with less than 3 prongs. The prongs indicate the age of the root. The root must be at least 5 years old to be harvested. The reason is that roots of that age can produce fertile berries that must be planted after picking. The berries must be red. A new law also requires all diggers to provide a government-issued photo ID to sell their ginseng to a registered dealer. According to the Division of Forestry, 31 ginseng hunters were prosecuted for different illegal activities in 2018, such as digging out of season, buying and selling without a dealer's permit, possession of ginseng younger than 5 years, and digging without written permission.
With the wild, the law is if you harvest a plant and the seeds are red, and that's what they have to be before you can harvest them, is sort of blood red. You'll see the seeds coming up out of the stalk, and they'll be blood red. You mush those seeds up and put them about a knuckle down into the ground from where you've pulled that root or you've dug the root. And those plants will be ready in 2 years to start growing. They won't be ready to harvest for at least 5 to 6 years. It takes a good 7 years for a plant to be harvestable. So they start producing seeds when they're 5 years old, but the longer you leave them in the ground, the bigger seed production they'll make.
If you're selling dry ginseng, which is what the majority of the market is, going into China for tea market, they're looking for something that's kind of chunky. Let's say a turnip shape. Kind of short, dumpy, and fat. Real good dark in color. They don't want a white root, they want it dark. Amber color would be a great color. Bright. The character of it, they want tight rings around the skin. I don't know how to describe it. The more stripes and the tighter the stripes on it, the rings, the better. And a long neck. The older, the better. It's like counting the rings on a tree. There's 20. 30, 31, 32. About 34 years old. And light in weight. The density of the root. The lighter, cork-like weight. You know how light a cork is when you put it in your hand? The density, the lighter, the better. And most of that's because they get more bang for their buck. You take a heavy root that weighs like a rock, well, they're not going to get very many roots for their money. You know what I mean? Something that's growing in a clear cut or something gets pretty heavy. It gets dense. They call it bony root, and it hardens up. Feels like you can when you peck it on a countertop or something. It sounds like you drive a nail with it. The Koreans prefer a grocery store style, green, fresh ginseng. You know, just like carrots and apples and everything. And they prefer a gaudy looking ginseng. They want something that stands out. And the reason the Chinese like the dumpy short ginseng because they're making tea out of it. Now they do like the neck to show its strength, okay? But they trim that ginseng up and there's very little waste on a bulb, just a little bit on the bottom. That's it. So they can just put it right down in their tea and got a little stem there. They can dip it. You know, everything beautiful on it. But when you're making something, salad or something, presentation is everything. They would love to see a big gaudy root laying there for flash, to draw their attention to it. If you're in a grocery store looking at apples to buy, the shiniest, biggest apples, what you're going to pick up and buy, not a little dumpy thing. So when they see that, a man root, yeah. But that was started in the National Enquirer, probably in the 70s, the first time I saw that. And I don't know how true that is, but I think that is an advertisement to get people excited about ginseng 40 years ago, you know what I mean? But that's not the only shape. We call them elk horns. And it's just anything with their arms out, you know, that's eye-catching. But they want something healthy too, you know, chunky. But they'd also, the same thing applies. They want lots of stripes, long neck, show the age. It's like artwork. It's in the eye of the beholder. It's hard for me to buy for that Korean buyer to know what it's. One thing may be worth something to me, and maybe not to him. 89 years, my family's been in the ginseng business and fur business. The scrap metal business started in about 1962. Personally, this is my 39th year in the ginseng business, and in the business full time. When you are a ginseng dealer and do it full time, there's no time to dig. I work 7 days a week through the ginseng season, but I used to. I mean, that's how I got into this. The part that drew me into this business was the outdoor part of this business. We used to be in the fur business and the ginseng business. It wasn't the metal business that drew me in, although that is the part I really make my money at. But it was the ginseng business and the fur business that originally got me interested in following my grandfather's footsteps. Made a lot of friends through this business, going through several generations, starting with my grandfather's friends. I call them friends instead of customers, because generally it's what it is. You catch up with people and you hear the stories about the big ones, where they found them, and how many was around them, how big they stood, how big around, how many big of the berry pod was, how big the root was. And I remember they'll look through the bag and pull one out. Man, look at this, and you know, you wouldn't believe how hard that one was. The rattlesnake had almost bit them. Sometimes did bite them. It's an outdoor thing. It's just another way of spending time in the outdoors. And it's not only father and sons, it's the daughters too. Not to the extent that's father and son, but the husband and wife do it, and then the daughters, they go out with their dads too. But it is a family thing, and sometimes it's just friends, but it's usually not a lone wolf thing. Sometimes it is, but it's more often it is friends, buddies that go together. They team up, and it's a competition, friendly competition. The trade war in general has business down in China, period, on everything, all merchandise, not just the ginseng. Sales are slow on everything. And the guys that I have sold to are telling me right now that they still have about half of all the ginseng that I sold them last year still on the shelves trying to move it. So sales are slow. And we don't only have that against us. The people in China, the population as a whole, the younger ones, they're not using the ginseng the way the older generation has. But neither does the younger generation dig the ginseng the way the older folks do. So we're kind of dying breeds at the same time. As they stop using the ginseng, we're moving away, we're dying off and not digging the ginseng the way we did. So I guess we'll fade off in the sunset about the same time, probably.